Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about heeling with our dogs because rally is one of our 4-H competitions for dogs, and a lot of that is really heeling. Okay, so let's talk about what that means. First thing is that for rally, the dog always has to be on your left side. So this is like the official side that dogs end up being when we're working in rally and obedience. The other part that you can kind of see with Avi here, and I'll actually turn to the side. Avi. Good boy. Can you sit? Avi, come sit. Is that we want the dog essentially to be kind of lined up with our leg. It isn't as strict in formal obedience where the dog has to be tucked right here at all times, but he needs to be essentially in this general vicinity. So when we're doing rally, you stay. He should not be out here when we're walking, nor should he be behind me out there or this far away. So our goal is to try to teach the dog that this spot right here, what we kind of call our heel position, is the best spot for the dog to be in. So let's get started with teaching Avi where he should be. So before we start actually moving around with our dog, we're going to go over just a few little tips. One, when I'm heeling with a dog or teaching him how to heel, it's important that I actually start with, you can see how my leash actually has some droop to it a little bit. If I was going to heel Avi and teach him to walk with me and only had a tight leash, he's not really ever going to learn anything because my leash is going to prevent him from going anywhere. So I want to make sure that he's making all of these good decisions by having a little bit of extra, that's a bad decision, a little bit of extra leash so that he can get out of position and again kind of get back to position. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that we're not actually teaching him, we're just holding him onto him really, really tight, and then the dog isn't learning. So I'm going to hold my leash so that he's got some space here. You'll notice I still have my clicker. I like to use my clicker quite a bit when I'm training. And I've got a few cookies. So we can have cookies in our pocket. We could have a little bait pouch with cookies, or I can feed out a couple cookies, let him go and come back and feed him again. So one thing that we're going to do with teaching Avi heel position is make sure that he has value for being right here next to me. So you can see he doesn't really want to go anywhere. He's tucked in right tight next to me. And I'm going to take my hand and essentially the dog should be right here. So part of how I keep Avi in position is I'm feeding him right next to where my leg is, right? So if you look at him, his shoulder is lined up with my seam of my jeans, as they say. So if I make sure that I'm always rewarding him in this position, he's less likely to want to go do other things. So that's the key thing. We're going to reward in this position. When we run out of cookies, the dog gets a little break, and then we just reload. Break. Started. You can see Avi is right where I want him to be. And I might even give him a few little pieces of cookie to remind him that this is a really, really good place to be. Then when we're going to start to move, essentially he's having a good time eating cookies. Let's go. You can see he's going to stay right in position with me as I move around. So he does a pretty good job of staying in position for me just because we've kept feeding him in that position. Now, he has already been taught to sit when I stop, which is another thing that we would teach them. But you can tell that Avi has a lot of value for just being in heel position. So when we teach this, we go from feeding cookies every couple steps or so. So let's do the beginning. Let's go. So I'm feeding him. I'm feeding him. If he drops his head, I'm not really worried about that. But I'm really just rewarding Avi for staying close to me, okay? So he gets rewarded for staying right close to my position here. And I'm practicing just making different turns. But as you notice, good boy, I've gone longer and longer between giving him cookies. So that's really how we start. We give them cookies very frequently at the beginning, and then we just go longer and longer between cookies. So that's how we teach our dog that heeling's kind of fun, They want to be next to us because of all these wonderful cookies they get, and we just gradually make it harder over time.